Hello, my name's Paul Edwards. Welcome to Man Friendly Church, a channel dedicated to bringing equality back into the house of God, so we can have an equal number of men and women. We do this in two ways. First, by understanding how men and women think differently, and second, by promoting methods that encourage men to attend and become part of the local church. We're going to talk today about the M number. But first of all, I'd like you to put the machine on pause, pick up a sheet of paper. I need you to make some notes and put some numbers down. So if you want to just go away, get some paper. Okay, I'm assuming you picked up your paper. I'm going to show you some words that are going to come up on the screen here. As these words show, write down a number that says how important to you those words are. It will be a number between 0 and 5. So if it doesn't matter to you at all, put 0. And if it does matter to you quite a lot, put 5. So for instance, if communication is important to you, put 5. But you think, well, I'd like to know what's going on, but I'm not too bothered. I'll talk to my wife every couple of days. You might put a 1 or a 2. So let's start from the beginning. Communication, how important is that to you? Community. I'm not going to go too much into the meaning of these words, just give your immediate thoughts. Relationships, how important is that to you? Loving cooperation, that's got to be good. How important is that to you? Beauty, how important? Feelings, that important to you? Helping, you've got to have a level of whether you like that or not. Relating. What about personal expression? Is that important? Or even love? Is that important to you? Sharing. Support. How important? Nurturing. These are important to you? Give them high numbers. Now you've written all those numbers down, if you just add them up, you should get a number between 0 and 65. I'd be very surprised if anyone had 65, and I'd be very surprised if anyone had 0. But now another set of words. Proving yourself. How important is that to you? Accomplishment. Is that important? What about competence? Is that important? Achievement. How does that rate in your mind? Efficiency. Is that important? Does that matter? Goal orientation. How does that fit with you? Self-sufficiency. Is that important? Or what about skills? Even competition. Is that important to you? Being competitive. Power. Success. Does that mean something big to you? And what about results? Does that matter? Objects. Are objects important to you? If you can do what we just did, from those numbers, take all those numbers, add up the values together. We want two separate numbers. One number from 0 to 65 for the first slide, and one number from 0 to 65 for the second slide. Those words have come specifically from two books. If you read Why Men Hate Going to Church by David Murrow, he took these phrases and words from Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, a book about the differences between men and women. So we're just going to come back and let's go back to the beginning. At the moment, the number a lot of people have heard about is the R number. With COVID-19 being a big problem at the moment, we've all heard the R number through the press, through the television. Basically, R number is the reproduction number. If I have COVID-19, on average, how many people will I give it to? If I give it to one or more people, then it's bad. If I give it to less than one person on average, it means the disease is getting smaller. We want to be as close to 0 as we possibly can, because any number over 1 means the disease is growing. But the M number, it's another number, But instead of being about a disease, this is now about people. The masculinity number. How masculine is the way a person acts and thinks? Unlike the R number, where we want to be as close to 0 as possible, with the M number, it doesn't matter what value people have. In fact, we want a wide range of numbers. Our preference is within our churches to have a wide range of numbers. How do you work out the masculinity number? To work out your M number is very simple. Take the number 65 and then take away from 65 the number that you got from adding together the first slide. Then add onto it the number that you got from the second slide. So let's just say on the first slide you got 20, you take 65 minus 20 equals 45. And then on the second slide you got 10. So you would actually have an M number of about 55. This is a way of measuring your masculinity based on things that matter. The problem is, a lot of the things that are the more feminine side from the first slide are things that we tend to think of as church and are important. We think that love is really important, cooperation, communication, nurturing. These are all things that are important in church and they're important to us as a church. But if you talk to men, they're not important. Men find much more important things like skills, being self-sufficient, I can do it on my own. They like to be competitive, they like to be better than other people. Competence, being good at things is important. Having goals, that's important to men. So you'll find that people who have a higher number for the second slide tend to be more masculine in their thinking and the way they act, whereas those who have a higher number from the first slide will tend to be more feminine. Combining the two numbers in the way I just said will actually give you an idea of an overall masculinity. Now, people will vary with this. As you can see here, I'm going to look at a few different people. We start off with this lady. She's beautiful. She thinks she's a princess. All the things that are feminine are important to her, probably. So she's going to have an M number, which is fairly low, nearer the 0. And then you've got the next lady. You can see there, she's still wearing a dress, but she doesn't look quite so ultra feminine. So she's probably going to have a bit higher number. And then nearer the middle, we have this lady. She's dressed in a trouser suit. She's looking a little bit more masculine. Then we start to move into the men. The men are starting to be a little bit different. You're getting a higher number again. This guy might be a little bit into the masculine. You get a little bit more, you've got this business-like person, he's very much goal-orientated, he's a get out there and do it, that's why he's good at his business. You can tell this because this is a headshot of a guy who's into business. And then we see this guy, he's a man's man, he's a hunter. He will do whatever it needs to support his family. He's the one who looks after others. Trouble is, nobody fits comfortably anywhere on this scale because the different factors that we were talking about, those different words all mean different things to different people. So if we have a look at this lady, if you're English, you'll recognise her. It's Margaret Thatcher. I'm not saying whether I support her or not. I'm not being political here, but what I am saying is a lot of the way she spoke, the way she did her politics, the way she was strong, she has fixed goals. She was very masculine in the way she did things. However, she was married to a man. She had a long, happy marriage. So she wasn't a bloke, but her thinking was more tending towards the masculine side. If you have a very feminine orientated church, there's a good chance that you might miss out on this lady. She may not end up in your church. But then again, you see there's this other guy up here. He's not your man's man, but he's still a bloke. He still thinks a bit like a bloke, but you know, he likes a good hug with some of his mates. He likes to show his emotions, but he's still a bit goal orientated. He wants to do things well. All these things interplay. But the problem is, as a church, we think that all the important things are love, nurturing, building relationships. People's feelings are important. We want things to be all about love and cooperation. And so they miss out, not just on men, they miss out on women who are into self-sufficiency, who are goal-orientated, who believe in competence. We take the bits of the Bible we like and easily fit into a box, and we make that what we want our church to be. I want to suggest that maybe we need to rethink the masculinity or the M number in today's church. So to get some men with a high M number, or maybe some ladies with a higher M number, I want to say within the church, if we set goals and then we get and encourage people to chase those goals, they're going to respond to that. When things are doing well and people do jobs well, recognise success. Put an emphasis on doing things to a high standard. If you've got men that are getting things wrong, what works for ladies is going along and quietly giving them some nice advice. A lot of men, especially those with the high M number, are going to prefer you to be blunt and say, look, that don't work. Why don't we try a different option? They'll get that. They'll thank you for it. And when people and events and things work well in the church, publicly recognise success. Because men will look and they'll see things are going well, and they'll see things are good and they want to be part of this. And this is a thing that will scare some people. Competition in the church is good. Have some things that are competitive within this church. And what about the next big thing? The Olympics is coming up later this year. Maybe showing the Olympics in church. God, you'll get competitive men in there together. You might actually have to make a rule, no alcohol, if that is your church building rule. But if you're supplying some cold drinks, you might get men who come in and want to cheer their team, want to cheer their country. It's just some ideas, things that men with a high M factor will like. If men are very masculine, try and think what we can do that is for them. Thank you. God bless.